Good afternoon, President of the IPU. Good afternoon, colleagues. I come with a heavy heart from Nigeria, but first I'd like to apologize to Honorable Kafila Ogbara. I am not here to bring shame to our country. I'm here to seek help for the women of Nigeria. Again, my name is Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. 5 days ago, on the 6th of March 2025, I was suspended. As a senator, I was suspended illegally because I submitted a petition of sexual harassment against the President of the Nigerian Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio. I thought that by submitting the petition, he would recuse himself, and both of us will submit ourselves to the Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petition for a fair and transparent investigation. But unfortunately, I was silenced and I was suspended. I was suspended for 6 months, amongst many other stringent conditions, such as taking away my security, taking away all the officials, vehicles, and other items that were handed over to me as a senator. My salaries will be cut off. I must not appear anywhere near the National Assembly. And for 6 months, I'm not to introduce myself or present myself as a senator locally in Nigeria or internationally. That means I'm here illegally. But I had no other place to go but to come here and speak to you women. Because this is a bigger picture. This is a bigger picture. It depicts the crisis of women political representation. My suspension is not just about me. It's about the systemic.
Okay, so we've got this situation in Nigeria that we need to unpack. It's about Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan and her suspension from the Senate. As we understand it, you've sent this over because you want to get a handle on what's going on, what's the big deal, but without wading through a bunch of legislative jargon.
Right, exactly. So the heart of the matter is really in this report titled Akpoti-Uduaghan's Suspension, Harassment Allegations and IPU Intervention. We're going to basically try to extract the key pieces here so you can walk away with a clear understanding of what's happening and, the implications of it all.
Sounds good. So let's dive right in. The report says that on March 6th of this year, 2025, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan, who represents the Kogi Central District, was suspended from the Nigerian Senate. And it wasn't like a slap on the wrist either. It was a full 6 months.
Yeah. 6 months is quite a while.
Yeah.
And according to the information we've got, the official reason given by the Senate was that she violated some of their internal rules. Specifically, they're saying she spoke out of turn during sessions and didn't stay in her assigned seat in the chamber.
Okay, but here's where it gets a little murky. The report also points out that Akpoti-Uduaghan supporters have a very different take on the situation. They're pretty adamant that this suspension isn't about rules at all. They believe it's purely political. So that immediately makes you think, well, what's really going on behind the scenes here?
You hit the nail on the head, and that's where this next piece comes into play, the sexual harassment allegations. The report details that before the suspension happened, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan publicly accused the Senate President Godswill Akpabio of sexual harassment.
Wow, that's a big accusation. And the report mentions it caused a huge stir in Nigerian politics. People were calling for an independent investigation into it, really trying to get to the bottom of things.
And what's especially interesting is that the critics of the Senate's decision are pointing to the timing of it all. They're suggesting, and it does seem pretty likely based on the sequence of events, that the suspension was basically retaliation, a way to shut her up after she made these accusations and maybe even scare others from coming forward. It really raises questions about how power dynamics work in Nigerian politics.
It's starting to feel like a much bigger issue than just breaking a few rules in the Senate.
Yeah.
So then things escalate even further, right? Because after the suspension and these very serious allegations, Akpoti-Uduaghan took her case to a whole other level. She went to the Inter-Parliamentary Union, that's the IPU, at the UN headquarters in New York. I mean, that's a pretty bold move, going to the international stage. It makes you wonder, did she feel like she had no options left within Nigeria itself?
That's a really important point. And to grasp the weight of that decision, you need to understand a little about the IPU. It's an international organization specifically dedicated to promoting democratic governance and protecting the human rights of parliamentarians around the world. Basically, they're there to support lawmakers and ensure their rights are respected, kind of like a global watchdog for democracy.
So this isn't just a domestic Nigerian issue anymore. This is now officially on the world stage. And the report emphasizes that she formally reported both her suspension and the harassment allegations to the IPU. It seems like she's looking for international intervention, for someone to step in and help, because she believes she's being persecuted for political reasons. It's a pretty major escalation.
Yeah.
What can the IPU actually do, though? I mean, are they going to conduct their own investigations or issue resolutions?
It's tricky. The IPU doesn't have the power to directly force any country to do anything. But from what we know, they do carry a lot of influence. They can investigate situations, issue statements expressing their concerns, and maybe most importantly, bring a lot of international pressure on governments. When a parliamentarian like Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan comes to them, they can really put a spotlight on the issue and call on the Nigerian government to take action.
And the report suggests that just by going to the IPU, Akpoti-Uduaghan has put the Nigerian Senate under a much brighter spotlight. Now, the international community is asking questions about whether her suspension was legitimate, especially with these serious allegations hanging in the air.
Right, and this situation unfortunately reflects a broader problem we see globally. Women in politics who challenge those in power often face serious backlash. The allegations of breaking rules and then the sexual harassment claims, followed by the suspension, it creates a really chilling effect, It might discourage other women from speaking out. The report also mentions that within Nigeria, more and more people are calling on the government to investigate the harassment claims and reconsider the suspension given all the international attention.
It really does make you think about how tough it can be for women in politics. The report highlights how this case has implications far beyond just this one senator. It shines a light on the wider issue of gender-based harassment in politics and the potential for powerful people to silence their critics, particularly women. It's something we see happen, sadly, in political systems all over the world.
Oh, absolutely. And if the IPU does take action, which we don't know for sure yet, it could put immense pressure on the Nigerian government to take these allegations seriously. Even if they don't have direct power, having a respected international body like the IPU involved definitely adds a lot of weight to the situation.
And beyond that, the report also points out the potential damage to the reputation of the Nigerian Senate as a whole. This whole controversy casts a shadow of doubt over their credibility and, even more specifically, over the leadership of Senate President Akpabio. It raises questions about whether they're acting fairly and ethically.
So circling back to you, someone who's trying to keep up with important world events, this situation, as the report lays out, brings together several really important elements. You have the dynamics of Nigerian politics, these serious allegations of misconduct at a high level, and then you have the growing role of international human rights organizations. It really demonstrates the challenges that people, particularly women, can face in their own political systems, and the potential for international bodies to step in and try to help.
The big takeaways, as highlighted in the report, the dual nature of the controversy. On the one hand, you have the alleged rule violations, which led to the suspension. On the other, you have these incredibly serious allegations of sexual harassment. And then, of course, there's the decision to go to the IPU, which brings in a whole international dimension. The report suggests that the outcome of all this could have a lasting impact on how politics operates in Nigeria and could even set a precedent for dealing with similar cases globally.
It really boils down to a fundamental question, and the report kind of hints at this, but doesn't directly answer it. When someone believes they're being targeted for political reasons, facing retaliation and harassment, what options do they really have to seek justice? And what role should organizations like the IPU play in these situations? I mean, it's a complicated issue without easy solutions, but as the information we've discussed shows, it's definitely something worth thinking about because it can have far-reaching consequences.
Absolutely. Thanks for breaking that down.
No problem.
Until next time, stay informed.